Today we're going to be talking about your book hot takes and some questions you have for me as well. I know normally I'm doing hour-long videos recapping books, but I thought we could just chill out today, hang out, go grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's talk about some books. I don't normally film here. What do we think? Are we liking it? I do have some Christmas decorations up. I want to start with a bookish hot take because there are so many good ones y'all had, and that's the most interesting thing here, let's be fair. We are instantly going after one of Book Talk's favorite books, if not their favorite book. Fourth Wing's writing pulled me out of the story from how modern/slang was used. Yeah, no, this I can stand behind. I really do enjoy Fourth Wing. I think it's so fun, but I'm always shocked that it's on this high pedestal of Book Talk. If you've heard me talk about Fourth Wing, you know what I'm about to say. It's a CW show in book form. That's what it is. It's got some really cringy writing, but the plot overall is really fun. But I also know we have 3 more books in this series, and I feel like we're gonna lose the plot at some point. Iron Flame already had people complaining about that. Slang used in any fantasy book can bother me as well. It's not supposed to be there. It just takes you out and go, oh, yeah, this was written by somebody right now. I just think most people on Book Talk don't care about modern slang words in fantasy books, and especially when we get to romantasy books, I feel like people aren't as critical of them because they're reading them for the romance more than the actual fantasy. Next, what's your favorite genre or book offer to read when you've just finished a good book and you feel like you just want to read more? Okay, so I don't have a specific offer or book that I pick up once I finished another really good book, but what I do end up doing most of the time, if I finished a really good book in one genre, I will 180 and go to a completely different genre because nothing is going to compare to that book right now. So if I've just read a really good fantasy book, we're gonna go read a modern day mystery. If I've read a modern day mystery, I'm gonna go pick up a random sci-fi book because I need something completely different that I won't be comparing to that book in my brain the whole entire time. Because that is how I think some books I've read that I did enjoy got rated lower just because I really wasn't in the mood for it, or I had just read a really good book and that one just didn't compare. Golden Retriever over Morally Grey. I 100% agree with this. I love the Golden Retriever characters so much, and they are always the one who dies. Every single time. I could list off books, I won't do that because I don't want to spoil you on random books, but they always die, and it breaks my heart because I love them so much. And if we're talking about love triangles, Morally Grey characters always get the girl when the Golden Retriever is over there as well, and it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. This is why I don't like love triangles anymore, because I always want the nicer guy to get the girl, and he never does. This could start me on a whole other tangent of how I don't like love triangle books unless the girl ends up with the guy I want her to. And I basically need to know that before I start reading the series, or I'm not gonna like it. But yes, Golden Retriever over Morally Grey any day of the week. I'm trying to think if there's any book that has a Morally Grey character that I favored over the Golden Retriever. Maybe Powerless, but if I'm being completely honest, I like Kit as a character better, but he's also now Morally Grey, so I don't know what to tell you on that one. Red Rising, I like a lot of characters, but literally everybody is Morally Grey in that book at this point, so Golden Retriever boys all the way. What's an extremely underrated book that no one seems to know about? Okay, there's no extremely underground book that I've read. I'm trying to diversify my book taste right now. Because I have been reading for almost a year, I've been reading a lot of very popular books, and I'm ready just to branch out and kind of start paving my own way. And also so I can share more unique books with you guys, so you can have different recommendations than just the popular recommendations that everybody is giving. But one book that I don't see talked about too much on Book Talk that has a sequel coming out very, very soon, like in 2 days from when I'm filming this, is What the River Knows. This was a very different book, honestly. It was very Indiana Jones-esque in a way. You're following this girl as she's on this journey to Egypt because her parents just died and she wants to figure out what happened there. We do have a little bit of an enemies to lovers plot going on. There are lots of plot twist turns, and the author really shows that she's not here to play games at the end of this book, and I love that, and I'm so excited to read. I believe it's called What the Library Hides, that comes out November 4th? It comes out November 4th. I'm so excited. Explicit scenes should not be as common as they are in YA books. I don't know why we've normalized that. Me either, girl. Me either. That is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to start posting on BookTube or Book Talk in any way, because I wanted to be somebody that would be so honest and be able to give clean book recommendations to people, because I feel like it's so hard to find. If you don't know, I do write reviews every once in a while for this website called Cleaned Up Romance Collection, where we write spice guides, but we also have a closed door section on there. I did not design this website. The amazing creator did all by herself, and then she invited some of us on to help get more reviews out and spice guides out as well. So if you're looking for a site that will have stuff like that, here's that. I think it's so important to call out books when they have smut or explicit scenes in them when they're in the YA section. That's not where they should be. And I know people have talked about a new adult section, but that wouldn't work because when an adult book comes out, it's in a new adult section. We, at this point, with where we're at with books, these sections need to be completely revamped because young adult is not for teenagers anymore, and teenagers should not have to worry about picking up a book that may have explicit scenes in them. It drives me insane, and it's why I really stopped reading as a kid, because I didn't know what was going to be safe for me to read. I didn't want to read that stuff. And I feel like a lot of teenagers fall into this thing where they feel like they have to read those scenes because they're in the book. And as an adult, I realized, oh, I can just skip over those. And I'm not saying every teenager thinks that way, but that's kind of how I thought. And I was like, I don't want to read this, so I just wouldn't pick up entire book series because of it. But they should have never been in the YA section in the first place. If you can't do Closed Door or Fade to Black in your book, then it is not a young adult. It is not made for children. Teenagers are children. That is something we have forgotten in today's day and age, and it just drives me insane every day. The amount of things that are advertised to teenagers, children, that are explicit in some way is terrifying, honestly. There's just no reason to expose teenagers to this stuff at a young age. It's not a healthy way to learn about this stuff. Most of the relationships in books are not healthy or should be replicated in any way. In summary, yeah, no, we should not have explicit scenes in YA section. It's awful. Awful. Okay. Moving on to a lighter question. What camera and other gear do you use to film? I recently picked up the Sony ZV-1F, and I've been loving it. I also just recently picked up the Rode mic that can attach to it. I want to pick up the portable ones they have as well, because it's just a trusted brand that a lot of YouTubers use, so people are used to that sound quality, and it's taken a lot of the echo away from my videos, and I really, really, really like it. I also just have a couple of tripods I bought off of Amazon and a ring light as well. That's from Amazon. I will say I started this YouTube channel with my phone. It's an iPhone 12. The video quality is not good on the back camera or front camera by today's standards. But if you have a newer phone, you can definitely make it work for a little while you figure out if you want to continue posting videos and stuff like that, because I didn't want to sink a larger amount of money into equipment to do this thing that I didn't know if it would be a random hobby I had for a couple months or if it was something I was really going to enjoy for a while. Last thing I'll throw in here, for editing, I use DaVinci Resolve. It is free, it's amazing. There is a paid for version, but I haven't even run into anything where I need to use any of the paid for products because those are like movie level stuff right there, and I'm still figuring out editing to this day, and I try to learn 1 or 2 new things a month. That's all. These two kind of go together. Caraval was lame, and Once Upon a Broken Heart was much better. And then this one says, Once Upon a Broken Heart is majorly overrated. Now, I can say Caraval, in my opinion, is lame. I didn't like it. It was boring. I could care less about those books and those characters. But I know a lot of people like Once a Broken Heart more, so I can't say if it's overrated quite yet, but if it's a lot like Caraval, I'm probably gonna end up leaning that way. What are your top 3 favorite tropes? I love tropes. I love knowing what's going to happen when I haven't even read the book before because it's a trope. It's so nice, it makes me giddy, and I love them so much. My favorite tropes. My favorite tropes. Okay, give me a second. I gotta think. Okay. I love the fine, make me your villain trope. so good every time. Because it's either going to be a character we're following that is having to make tough choices and the world is starting to view them as a villain even though they're trying to save them, or it's coming from a villain who thinks they're doing good things but is actually doing awful things. And so they're up on their high horse like, ugh, I'm not actually a villain, but they are, and both of those are so good and I love them. Second, it's common, but I love enemies to lovers. I know I say like the golden retriever over the morally gray, but enemies to lovers just has a little extra It's so good every single time. I will say though, enemies to lovers, most of the time does not enemies to lovers the way I wanted to enemies to lovers. If they're enemies for less than 100 pages, then I really don't think it was an enemies to lovers. If we're talking it's a multi-part series, then honestly, I want them to be enemies the whole entire first book. Love that. And then we can start building that relationship in the second book. We can maybe hint at it in the first book, but I don't want it to build until the second book. But my favorite trope. I don't like when it's used for spice as much. You should know I don't really like spice in books, but I love the one bed trope. Specifically, when one of them has a nightmare and the other one goes over to comfort them. And if you mix that with enemies to lovers, it's my favorite scene, without a doubt. I think that comes from the Hunger Games, because Peeta comforting Katniss from her nightmares, it gets me every time. Those scenes are my favorite, my absolute favorite. I love them. Okay, these two are kind of similar, but they both just say people who like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter talk about it way too much and make it their whole entire personality. And I think this is the case because Percy Jackson and Harry Potter are normally the books that get people into reading. And when you first start reading and find that magic, you can't help just being obsessed with the books that made you fall in love with it for a bit. I think most people grow out of it, but if you are somebody who hasn't stopped talking about it for like 5 to 10 years, and it's fine if you want to bring it up casually. I talk about the Hunger Games all the time. I'm one to talk. I'm wearing a Finnick sweater right now. I'm just this version, but in Hunger Games, okay? I'm really not judging anyone. But I do see how it can get a little annoying if you have somebody who's been obsessed with it for like 5 to 10 years, and it's still basically the only book they talk about. At that point, you're not a book person, you're a Harry Potter or Percy Jackson person, which is totally fine. But you just need to know that and accept it. Do you and your husband plan to read a book together and review it? And then we also have you ever made your husband read a book? If yes, then which one? My husband is not a reader at all. He's read like 3 books in his life, and it's been 3 biographies of some sort. It's just not his preferred way of getting different stories. He's a big gamer. We're just the stereotypical reader-gamer couple. I wasn't a reader when we started dating or got married, so I guess it's my fault for really letting us fall so far into this stereotype, but oh well. But he just likes getting his fun stories from video games, and video game storylines slap. But no, he's 22. I'm holding out hope that maybe someday his attention span will be a little longer and I can get him to read like Red Rising or something. I tried to get him to read Narnia. That didn't work. So I don't know. If you guys know good short books for guys to read, I can try to make him read something. I have no promises for y'all there. He's more than happy to just hear about all the books I read though, so it works out. Book Talk pretty much ruined my love for reading. It's just full of amateur reads at best. I think Book Talk has its place in the reading community, and it has done wonders for getting people back into reading, myself included. Fourth Wing is what got me back into reading. I know it's stereotypical, but like I said, I'm trying to branch out and read just a whole bunch of different books now. But I will forever have to thank Book Talk for making me read a book about dragons. It was fun. Okay, I love that book about dragons so much. But the books that get recommended can get very repetitive. Book Talk loves romance books, romantasy, and enemies to lovers. And if you want much outside of that, then you're gonna have to go off of the beaten path of Book Talk and find normally smaller creators that will have recommendations. Oh, I forgot to mention Frida McFadden will also always be recommended on Book Talk. Those are the big ones. I think once you get into reading again, you have to slowly find the creators that are creating content with not all the book talk books, which I guess I still am, but I'm trying to get better. It's just how you use it. It has its place, but I can totally see how if you just kept reading book talk books forever, it would get annoying at some point because the writing is not always amazing 100% of the time. We can all admit that. Do you like Russian literature? I'm gonna be so honest. I've only read silly book talk books for the past year. No, I've had some really good reads, but I don't think I've read any Russian literature. I don't know. If you have good recommendations, let me know. I'm down to check it out. Reading 30 plus books a month shouldn't be normalized. I am so with you. Even down to reading one book a week shouldn't be normalized for everybody. People have very busy jobs, and especially if you're a parent or have other stuff going on outside of work in your life, it's a lot. The only reason I read as many books as I do is because my hobby has now been reading and creating videos, and I'm more than happy with it, and I love doing this, and I hope to continue doing this for quite a while, so I'm perfectly fine with spending a majority of my time and sacrificing some other things to make time for this. But yeah, no, if you read like a book a month or even a couple books a year and you want to consider yourself a reader, go for it, man. The reading community really isn't picky with who considers themselves a reader. And never feel pressure that you're not reading enough books, especially if you're just doing it for your own hobby. I find myself feeling pressure to read a lot of books because I'm trying to read more books so I can recommend more books for y'all or do more of the recaps and stuff like that. And I'm trying to even put less pressure on myself and just enjoy reading, enjoy this process, miss a week if I have to at some point. But I'm also a slight perfectionist, and the idea of missing a deadline sends me into a spiral. So just know if I ever miss a week of videos, I will feel awful about it. Have you read any Jane Austen? Or are you planning to? I tried to read Little Women. I just haven't been able to get into any of her books. I want to try again at some point. I really do. But I'm gonna have to be in the right mood for it. I think I'm gonna try to do an audiobook or something. She's a very descriptive writer. I have aphantasia. I can't visualize stuff. So sometimes I just need somebody to read it to me so I don't lose my train of thought constantly. But no, I hope to get to her at some point. She wrote Emma, didn't she? If she did, I do want to read Emma. That's a book I'm really interested in reading. Back to Caraval. Jax is way better than Julian and Legend in Caraval. I love Julian though. I was so checked out by finale that I don't even know what my opinion on Jax is. I don't know why I read the last book. I'm gonna be so honest. I didn't care. And I knew I didn't care at that point. And if this is a book you like, that's totally fine. I can see why people like this book. It's very magical, it's very whimsical, it's very fun. Just wasn't for me. It didn't hit right for some reason, but I can see why people like it. I will say, Jax far better than Legend, in my opinion. Legend annoyed me by the end. What book made the biggest impact on how you see the world? I mean, in all reality, it's quite literally The Hunger Games. I'm not going to get political at all on here, but it makes you look at the political landscape very differently, and it makes you notice stuff from a young age. And it's a wonderful way to show the younger generation growing up how much control the government can have and how bad that can be if we let them have it. I'm not trying to get political, that's just what that book shows. The Hunger Games also just shows you a wonderful sister relationship and the true unconditional love that Katniss has for Prim since the beginning, and by the end, the unconditional love she has for Peeta. It's just a wonderful book. It also shows you the brutality of war. Suzanne Collins does not hold back the punches, ever in that book. It makes you think, even at a young age, what you want the world to look like, and when you start seeing stuff that resembles the Capitol in the world, you go, uh-oh. But yeah, that's probably made the most impact on me because of that reason. And I kind of love the joke, but also I think the real reason we've been getting these prequel books from her all of a sudden is she saw some stuff happening and she has stuff to say now. Book Talk needs to stop hating on the other half of love triangles. Absolutely. Book Talk and the drama it causes in the book community makes me wonder if Book Talk is worth it some of the time. There's a lot of things about the Book Talk community which I really don't see transfer over to the booktube community as much, which is why I post over here a lot more. Y'all aren't scary, and thank you for that. hating on anything about a book to the degree that love triangles will get drama on and other things is just that thing of social media where you feel like you're hiding behind a screen so you can say whatever you want. You're not thinking about other people's feelings. Yes, it's just a book, but if this person really likes this character and all of a sudden you're bashing them, or I've seen people go so far as to bash another person because of the character they like, just let people read and have fun with it. We don't need to be judgy over it. It's words on paper. Words on paper. It doesn't matter that much, actually. Which of your latest books made you cry? When and how? It was A Man Called Ova. And oh my gosh, when? Basically the entire book. How? Some of it was sad tears, but a lot of it towards the end of the book were happy tears / sad tears. It was just so sweet. I won't say how because I feel like if I get into the how on how I cried throughout that book, it's kind of a spoiler. Just go check it out. This is one of my most recent 5-star reads and I love it so much. I think it's just a thing as a entire population. We need to remember that when people get older, they don't become useless. And a lot of people, especially men, want a purpose in their life. And I think it's so harmful how we try to baby the elderly. And not even people that are that old, we will try to start babying sometime as a population. And it's something we all need to work on because they still have so much value to bring and they can probably do so much more than you think they can. The Inheritance Games isn't Jennifer Lynn Barnes' best series. The Naturals is. Now, I haven't read The Naturals yet, but I really want to. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a better series because of what I've heard about it. It sounds very interesting and very different. I feel like The Inheritance Games reminds me of some stuff, but The Naturals, of what I've heard about it, seems to stand on its own very well. And I'm excited to get into it, hopefully next year. We only have 2 months left of this year, so, could be any time now, really. It's gonna be so long, but I do want to read that series so bad. All right, last question. How did you start your YouTube channel and what did you originally intend to make versus now? How I started this YouTube channel was, I believe it was February. I had gotten into reading in January and I just kept reading and I really loved it. I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I've never had anything interesting enough to talk about. And I was watching a lot of booktubers and recently found some smaller booktubers that I really love and was able to watch their channels grow. And I felt like I could post content similar to that once I got some practice at it. But I also knew this would take up a lot of time, so I spent a lot of time praying about it, which might sound silly, but I knew it was going to take up a lot of time, so I wanted to make sure I was using that time wisely. And it felt spiritually okay to be doing that since this channel is clearly not a Christian channel. It's about fun books and I talk about God. I have no problem with that. He's the best. But I knew it was primarily just going to be books and fun and it wasn't going to be about him. So I didn't want to do that if it was going to be something selfishly for me. So I spent a lot of time praying about that. It wouldn't leave my mind to start this channel. So I decided to do it. I did it. My first few videos were really bad. My first lot of videos were just fine. The TikToks I were posting was fine. The thing with YouTube is you just have to start posting and you're gonna learn along the way. You're gonna be embarrassed about your first post. But yeah, I just planned to post normal reading content, vlogs, recommendations. I was gonna do like pick my TBR with me videos and stuff like that, which I did for a while. I didn't do a lot of TBR videos because it wouldn't have been very authentic because I had videos planned out months in advance and I knew what I was gonna read already, so it wasn't like, oh, my TBR, it's a surprise. But then I posted the Twilight video, which I knew I wanted to do a first read-through of Twilight in some sort, but I never thought I would be somebody to do a deep dive / recap of any book like I've seen a lot of people do that I really enjoy those videos. I love watching those videos. They're so fun, especially if you need background noise. I love them. I posted that book. I texted my sister, this is either gonna flop or be the best video on my channel so far. And it's not anything mega viral, anything like that, but it was such a big step. Such a big step. I went from a couple hundred views to my most viewed video being at 900 views to now my most viewed video is at 32,000, which is an insane number to think about. Thank you so much to all of you who watched that and continue watching any of my videos. And special thanks to all of you who watch the videos that get like 200-300 views still. I love posting them and I'm gonna keep doing it. But I never thought I would be somebody who would continuously post recaps. But I've really fallen in love with the process. It stresses me out, that's for sure. I'm just at the beginning stages of another one right now, and I'm not stressed yet, but I don't like writing things, so having to recap a whole 150 pages of a book at a time in my notes is not my favorite thing to do ever. But I love the process of filming, reading, getting my reactions. It's so fun. I didn't think I would be posting this. It always was going to be a reading channel though, 100%. So we've stayed mostly on plot. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. It really does help a girl out. And if you want to see more videos like this, let me know. I'd be totally down to do that. And if you have any more just sit-down videos in general that you would like to see me do, let me know. I'm always looking for recommendations on that because I don't know what you guys want with just sit-down videos. They're very convenient to film because I can film them all in like an hour or two, and that's great. I just don't want to make boring content. So if you have some sit-down videos that you would like, let me know. I would love to film them. They're a lot of fun. I love talking to myself for an hour. I'm talking with y'all. It's fine. Before I leave, I had said that if we reach 10K by the end of the year, I would read a Colleen Hoover book, and then I forgot to ever mention it in any video in a good time, besides at the very end like I'm doing right now. So if you're still watching that, just know I'm changing it. I'll start trying to mention it more. I think the next couple videos I'm already in the process of filming, so it might not be mentioned for a bit. But once we hit 10K at any time, then I'll start looking at filming a Colleen Hoover book recap unhinged video for y'all. So I'll see y'all in my next video of some sort, and we'll hang out then. Bye, y'all.